Hey, everybody. Fun chat today as we talk about best practices and the leading edge, the cutting edge of building secure and scalable healthcare platforms and digital health products with a true industry insider. Gazemfer, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Evan?
I'm doing well. Thanks for joining. Very timely as we run up into industry events like Vive and HIMSS and others. Of course, software and AI is at the center of much of the innovation these days. Before that, maybe introduce yourself, your background. You wear a number of different hats, so maybe you could share a bit about your journey as well as who is Technology Rivers, your firm.
Okay, so thanks. So my name is Gazanfer Mansoor. I'm a founder and CEO of Technology Rivers, our software development company primarily focused on healthcare software development. We work with health tech companies building HIPAA-compliant software products, work with healthcare service businesses, helping them improve operations through AI and technology. That includes building AI agents, clinical workflows, automation, that kind of stuff. So goal is to help them get 10x growth through AI and technology, because that's really the differentiator in the service businesses, because everybody has access to all those different tools, technologies, but the the automation, the workflow improvement, those are the ones that create differentiator, that bring more efficiency in your processes. That's how you differentiate from because those are your very specific flows. So we come in and we help unlock those strategies, unlock those bottlenecks, looking at all the manual stuff and create those automations. Other than that, I am an author of a book, Beyond the Download, how to build mobile apps that people love, use, and share every day. I've been involved in mobile since 2000, even before iPhone and Android. So based on all those different experiences, and we built around 60 different mobile apps since we started Technology Rivers in 2015. So all those experiences, there are 30 plus different strategies that I shared in that book, including some of the latest AI technologies that you could use. So that book is really good for anybody who's looking to build a mobile app, any app owners, if you are looking to grow the app, because you can download the app, everybody download, but then are the people coming back? So that's the main gist of it. And I'm working on the other two books, which is on the 10x growth strategies as well as healthcare in the AI era. So
Brilliant topics. I'll be sure to check those out. So why healthcare? What attracted you to problems in the healthcare space and your work here versus other industries or challenges?
So I personally worked at Veterans Health Administration before starting this business as a consultant, and then our second customer was with health tech companies, and that's how we got into more and more healthcare. Then we did some project for startups that came out of Johns Hopkins Innovation Center, and that's how we learned HIPAA. So once we started doing, we get more and more leads in that space. So gradually, our focus total became healthcare and health tech, and that's the area that requires a lot more innovation, a lot more work. It's still way behind compared to many other industries.
Way behind, but let's talk about software in general now. We're in the midst of a revolution, literally as we speak. You can't help but notice the headlines in the media every day about software development being changed, disrupted fundamentally, about the impact on developers and software development. Before we talk, speeds and fees in healthcare, what's your take on this revolution, and how does it impact you and the way you design, build software? How does it impact your clients? What's your hot take, I guess, as we stand today?
I would say AI has impacted or is impacting everyone, but more in a good way. So it's obviously it's empowering people rather than just doing it a different way. So on our side, we look at it like we have a team of developers, and we're using AI everywhere in different ways. So obviously there's a part that you see on when it comes to using on the content side, but then on the development side, we use different tools like Cursor, for doing the quick development. The Claude Code is one of the most popular ones. We create POCs using these different vibe coding tools, Replit, Lovable, and there are quite a few others, Emergent and a few other. Then we also use the tools like UX Pilot, Visually for creating quick POCs for the UX part, improving the. So everywhere in our whole development cycle, we're using AI. We are using AI for code coverage, for test cases, for unit testing. For many of the places, AI is helping us do the things that we were previously not able to do. So, and it's obviously it's changing the game everywhere. It does come with its own challenges as well, because if you just as like if let's say if you just upload the documents in ChatGPT and you do a query, a lot of people are using AI still like a Google search, but it's so how you can use it better would make a difference. And same is the case in the development side. You can use AI to generate a code, but how do you take that code and convert it into something that is usable for your specific use case? Or are you using these vibe coding tools to just generate something that's throwable? No, there are techniques, and that's where a very small percentage, maybe 5% of the people are using it in a way where you can figure out the depth of these tools, getting to know the specifics of how these tools work, so that as you're building, you're not making it a throwaway code, but it's also extended to the next level. Another place where we use the design and convert it into a code, which in the past was also available, but the code quality was not. Now you can use our own code and train AI to give you the code out of the design that is similar to our own coding standard of our own practices. And that will help grow, expand it, rather than just getting something done quickly.
Interesting. And so, obviously so many benefits. What are the risks and challenges? I mean, you're intimately involved with, making HIPAA and compliance and security and data protection into products and services. Does it slow things down a lot, or does AI really help in this regard?
So I think the industry is going through a phase where there was a hype of, oh, AI can do everything. You can do projects in hours and days than it used to be. And now people came to realization that, oh, it's not that easy. It has its own complications as well. Not every use case is a ChatGPT chat case where you just put in everything and load, because it's like one of those where you're testing your application with like maybe 2 users, and when you have 1 million users on your application, suddenly there's a different case, right? So ChatGPT, you're loading 2 documents and doing a query, you got the results. But what if you loading your whole company data, and now you have millions of those docs, and suddenly it's gonna fail. It's not practical. So now you have to use different strategies. So those are the complications. Like there are different use cases, how you use AI uh, to review or to analyze your internal data, the sensitive data, whether it's PHI data or any other internal data. So, and how do you use AI to query? And so that's where most of those AI projects are also failing, because that's the use case not everybody is familiar with, in terms of like there are different architectural implementation strategies that you have to follow. You can't just be uploading, because anything you upload in AI through whether API or through other way, it's being used for training the LLM. That's your private data. So you have to use different strategies, whether it's using RAG architecture, vector databases, whatever. So these are different strategies that you have to use. And even then, you cannot just be getting any type of data out of it. You have to train the data, save the data in such a way so that you can also search it later on. So you have to know those use cases. The other challenges on the development side is, as you are generating the code, let's say AI generate the code and it may override existing one. Like, so it has to know the context. So again, the similar challenge, just getting the query and getting the result doesn't mean, I mean, you get the good thing, but now you have existing data as well. You have millions of lines of code already doing certain things. Now, there's a human involvement do come in. Without the human involvement, you're going to be making more mistakes. And that's where these things, like people started generating things faster and then suddenly realizing, oh, now it started behaving something different because there were certain things that were done in a way that developer didn't pay attention, and now you have to go back, figure out, fix. Then you realize you're spending more time identifying those problems than what it took initially to build that. So knowing the context, having the right strategy, having the right mapping, those things do make a difference.
I bet. So it sounds like you've seen a lot in your many years in this space. You mentioned some of the mistakes. What other big mistakes are health tech companies or startups making when developing their first product? You must see some themes over and over again.
I think the bigger one is really not clarity of the requirement, because if you don't define what you want to build, you usually not gonna be um, getting the right output. So you have to know initially before starting what is the expected outcome that you're trying to. But majority projects fail because of the unclear requirements. Once the requirements are not clear, obviously it could be interpreted in many different ways. That's a very common thing. The ownership is another one. Who actually owns it? Who actually drives the direction of those projects? Those are the common mistakes. Yes, it boils down to maybe coming down to, the bad design. It could be the bad user experience. It could be a crashing product. It could be not able to launch because too many features, too complicated. All of those are the specific reasons that will come out of those core things. Once you have the right requirements, right product management, right direction, then these things automatically get fixed.
Interesting. You mentioned you do a lot of app development, and of course, user interface, user experience is a big part of that. Historically, healthcare is, a terrible, patient experience, you'd call it, but really is user experience. I mean, just look over your doctor's shoulder over the years and you'd see what they have to go through in various portals and other, interfaces to get things done. And it was really tough to watch. I think the industry seems to be getting better, but how do you approach UX and UI? What's your sort of philosophy there when it comes not just for patients, but for admins and the clinicians and all the people that need to use the software?
So obviously everybody wants a simple, slick experience, but anything that's simple is the hardest. And that's the part. And then there's a balance between what is simple versus what information does that need. Simple doesn't mean you don't have the main information. So there's a balance that needs to be done. I think the most important part is really figuring out who your users are. Are you building something for senior citizens? Are you building something for kids? Are you building something for patients? What age? What education? So all those things do matter. I share one of the examples that we have seen that we have been to the age of the Craigslist, where the Craigslist was very traditional. Everybody used it, like people were on it all the time. But the horrible interface, but it worked. It worked for that. So it's what the users want really is not always a nicer interface, but what works for them. That's the most important part. You can have a beautiful application, but if it's not really fulfilling the need, it's not giving the experience, it's not going to be useful. And if you have an amazing experience, but it look horrible, it probably still would work, but it depends on, because then the other will come in cart. So it's a combination of both. So I think since the iPhone, the Apple, all of these things change, now people do look for all of those. So having a right experience, building a remarkable app experience does make a difference. And that's one of the things I also talk in my book about this one, because having a nicer interface does bring more attraction to the user, and there will be more adoption for sure, as long as it's doing the core thing, what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, you only have to look at Apple Health and the major breakthroughs that they've achieved just through user interface design, accessibility. It's been amazing to watch. I heard you just you referenced like lovable and low code, no code kind of approaches. do you see customers scaling from, an MVP right to production without having to actually write code? I mean, with things like Lovable, or are they more for prototyping in healthcare, or maybe or early design? What say you?
So it's doable, um, but not many people are able to do it. That's where,
Mm,
as I was mentioning earlier, probably very small percentage of the people are able to get to that level. Again, that's where you need more, um, I would say, a solution architect type of person who can actually, or a product person who could articulate those things how you want it. Just like when you are doing the right prompting, obviously you can get the results, but then that also means you need to know how you want your code to be generated. So, for example, um, as you're generating these applications with Lovable, Replit, and other tools, there's a database structure behind, like whether it's a SOPA base or whatever you use. So it creates a database structure. For example, let's say our requirement is, that the reference table should be in certain format. The column name should be like this one, or you need the audit fields, any of those kind of things. Or how do you want your functions to be written so that you can convert it into APIs later on? Or so that pattern only the technical people know. So not only that, but then there's a gap because the product people are the one who can articulate those things well. Developers are the one who can tell better. It's a combination of those people who are able to do well. What we have seen mostly is non-technical people are building, entrepreneurs and different people are building, they have ideas. So for me, that seems like more like a replacement of your traditional requirement clarification,
mm,
replacement of the sketches. Rather than having those sketches, now you can articulate the problem through these tools, and you say, okay, here's my first version that I'm envisioning, but it's bare bone. It has the front end, the back end, the admin, everything in one in a different tab, and you just were able to elaborate your idea. Okay, this is what I want. Now I want it converted into a real production, and that's where I think that's where the opportunity is. You can create those. Um, um, uh, you can take those POCs and convert it into a real production one. It could be enhanced right there. And then there's a time when you actually take that and convert it, maybe moving into a cursor and using other tools to actually do and deploy. Because as you keep vibe coding, it will get you to a certain state. Then some state you have to convert. But you don't want to be throwing away what you already built. You want to take that and move it to a production. And where we come in, we also not only convert those into a production ready, but we also make it HIPAA compliant because uh,
mm.
the tools will just give you the flows, but these applications are not by default going to follow the HIPAA regulations in terms of whatever are the HIPAA steps that you need to follow, whether it's audit logging, whether it's authentication, a lot of those things. There are certain things, but they are not following the HIPAA regulation. So we take those vibe coded tools and convert it into HIPAA ready, production ready applications.
Brilliant. It sounds like a great formula for success. I'm sure you're intimately familiar with integrating to EHRs and all the various healthcare data standards. Where are we? Are things opening up? Are you getting the kind of integrations you need for clients? And are we getting interoperability finally that we've been talking about for years and years?
I think it really also kind of dependent on the vendors. So there are a lot of those EMRs, EHRs, and then they have APIs. Um, so that part is already there. People are already building applications, integrating. If those are not providing, those are probably not going to get the market share because if people can't integrate, nobody's going to use those. So
Mm,
that problem is not there. I think what AI is bringing is building something on top of that, which is a concept called MCP, Model Context Protocol. So MCP is like a API for AI, just like APIs are your interface to your typical application. So MCP would let you query your database, your application uh, through any AI console like Claude console or ChatGPT. So And then obviously you can also integrate with your application. So if now applications are exposing as MCP so that your application can connect, include the chatbot functionality inside your application. So that's a big, I think, a big innovation, and that's a very exciting innovation that people are leveraging now.
Brilliant. Sounds like a great opportunity. So what's next? What are you looking forward to over the next weeks and months? I know you're headed to Vive, the big meeting of healthcare IT and practitioners. What are you thinking about as you head into Vive, and what are you excited about the rest of the year?
So thanks. Yeah, so going to Vive, there are a lot of opportunities in the healthcare space. There are a lot of things happening. I think what the opportunities where we are seeing is a lot of people are talking about the clinical workflow implementation. So that's the one of the most demanding at this time, as well as building applications that has more predictability. So we are building different applications where you're loading the personal health data, using AI for deep research, prediction of medicine, and other things. Obviously, the recommendation has its own. There are caveats in terms of what could be shared and what not. That's a legal part, but those type of applications are in more demand nowadays. So we're creating those different applications. We're excited about all of those opportunities, and I'm sure they'll increase more and more. So our goal is to go to Vive, HIMSS, and other conferences, talk about what we are working on, whether it's workflow implementation with AI agents or these Vibe coding to HIPAA-compliant applications.
Brilliant. Well, have a great show. Thanks for giving us your insight and opinion, your unfiltered experience. Really helpful, and appreciate. Let's keep in touch on social.
So thanks for having me, Evan.
Thanks for being here. Thanks everyone for listening and sharing. Also check out our TV show, techimpact.tv on Bloomberg Television and Fox Business. Thanks everyone. Thanks, December.
Thank you. What do you think?